"You're coming with me?" said the lone rancher after her in-laws tried to ruin her life. Red Mesa was a hard world to survive on. The sky stayed dusty most days, colored red and gold by twin suns that burned above endless plains. Wind moved across the land like a living thing, carrying sand that scratched against metal walls and old wooden fences. Settlers who lived here learned quickly that only strong people lasted long. Lyra had once believed she was strong. She stood outside a small ranch house, holding her son's hand while the wind pulled at her long coat. The place had been her home since she married Aaron, a kind rancher who dreamed of building something peaceful on this frontier world. After he died in a mining accident months ago, everything slowly changed. At first, her husband's family spoke kindly. They told her she would always belong there, but after the funeral, their voices became colder. They began blaming her quietly, saying she distracted Aaron, saying she brought bad luck, saying she never truly belonged to their bloodline. Lyra ignored the whispers. She focused on surviving. Every morning she woke early to fix broken farming machines, clean solar panels covered by dust, and grow food in a small greenhouse Aaron built himself. She worked harder than anyone else, hoping effort would earn respect. It never did. One afternoon, her brother-in-law Dane called her into the main house. Papers sat on the table, glowing with digital text. He spoke with a fake calmness that made her stomach tighten. "You can't stay here anymore," he said. Lyra blinked slowly. "What do you mean?" Dane explained that the ranch legally belonged to the family now. He said she had no claim without Aaron. The words felt like stones falling into deep water. She barely understood legal systems on this frontier colony, but she understood enough to know she was being pushed out. "I worked this land too," she said quietly. He shrugged. "Doesn't matter." Her mother-in-law avoided eye contact. Others watched silently from the doorway. Lyra felt something inside her crack, but she refused to cry. She returned to the small room she shared with her son and packed slowly. She folded clothes carefully, as if moving slowly might stop time from changing. Her son, little Joran, looked up at her with wide eyes. "Are we leaving?" She forced a soft smile. "Just for a while." Outside, a dust storm began rising on the horizon. The air turned darker as sand lifted into the sky. By evening, the storm reached them fully, shaking windows and covering everything in red haze. That was when they forced her outside. Dane placed her bag on the ground near the gate. The heavy door slid shut behind her with a cold, metallic sound. She stood there in the storm, holding Joran close while wind howled around them. People from nearby homes watched but did not help. On Red Mesa, everyone learned to avoid other people's conflicts. Lyra lowered her head against the wind. She tried to think where to go. The nearest town was hours away by foot. Night would come soon, and storms like this were dangerous. Her son pressed closer to her. "Mama, I'm scared." She knelt and wrapped her arms around him. "It's okay," she whispered, though she did not believe it. Through the storm, a shape appeared. At first it looked like a shadow moving across the red dust. Then she saw the outline clearly, a hoverhorse gliding silently over the ground, its mechanical legs adjusting smoothly to shifting sand. Sitting on top was a tall figure wearing a long coat and a wide-brimmed hat. The rider stopped a few steps away. The wind pushed his coat back slightly, revealing a calm face marked by years of quiet strength. His eyes moved from Lyra to the house behind her, taking in everything without hurry. Dane stepped forward from the gate, shouting over the storm. "Move along." "This isn't your business." The rider ignored him. Instead, he spoke to Lyra. "You need somewhere safe," he said simply. His voice was low and steady, like someone used to giving orders but choosing gentleness instead. Lyra hesitated. Trust was dangerous. She barely knew this man. "I don't want trouble," she said. He nodded slowly. "Neither do I." Behind them, thunder rolled across the sky. Lightning flashed through the storm clouds, turning the dust into glowing waves for a moment. Dane laughed harshly. "She's not your problem." The rider turned his head slightly. His expression did not change, but something about his silence made Dane step back. The rider returned his attention to Lyra. He noticed her tired posture, the way she stood protectively in front of her child, and the stubborn strength behind her eyes. "You're coming with me," he said. The words surprised her. Not a question, not a command filled with force, just a quiet certainty. "Why?" she asked. He paused before answering. "Because you deserve better than this." The storm grew louder, pushing sand between them like waves. Lyra looked back once at the ranch that had once been her home. She felt sadness, anger, and relief all at once. Joran tugged gently on her sleeve. "Mama, can we go?" She took a slow breath. Sometimes survival meant stepping into the unknown. She nodded. The rider helped her onto the hoverhorse, making sure her son sat safely between them. The machine hummed softly as it lifted slightly above the ground. As they moved away, Lyra did not look back again. The rider introduced himself only after they left the settlement behind. "Kale," he said. The name felt simple, like him. They rode across the desert under a sky filled with shifting red clouds. The storm slowly weakened, revealing stars above them. For the first time in many months, Lyra felt something she had almost forgotten. Hope. She didn't know where he was taking her. She didn't know why he helped. But she felt that her story was changing direction, moving away from loss toward something new. Behind them, the ranch faded into the distance. Ahead, the unknown waited. And for the first time since everything fell apart, Lyra allowed herself to believe that maybe she was not alone anymore. The journey across Red Mesa took longer than Lyra expected. Kale rode without rushing, guiding the hoverhorse through narrow paths between rocky cliffs and wide plains where strange alien plants grew from the sand. Some plants glowed softly at night, lighting their path with faint blue and green colors. The storm slowly faded behind them, leaving only silence and the sound of wind moving across the desert. Lyra held her son close as they traveled. At first, she felt nervous sitting behind a stranger, but Kale's calm presence made her feel safe. He did not ask many questions, and he did not speak unless necessary. That silence felt respectful, not cold. After hours of travel, she finally saw it, a ranch hidden beyond a line of tall stone formations. Solar towers stood like quiet guards around the property. Old wooden fences mixed with advanced energy barriers that shimmered faintly under the twin moons. The place looked both modern and ancient at the same time. Kale guided the hoverhorse through a wide gate that opened automatically. Small drones floated nearby, scanning quietly before returning to their charging stations. "This is home," he said simply. Lyra stepped down slowly, unsure what to expect. The ranch felt peaceful. No loud voices, no arguments, no heavy tension like she felt at her old home. A small house stood at the center, surrounded by equipment sheds and animal pens. Some animals were natural livestock brought from Earth, while others were strange alien creatures adapted to the harsh environment. Joran's eyes widened with wonder. "Are we staying here?" he asked softly. "For now," Kale answered. Inside the house, everything was simple but clean. Tools hung carefully on walls. A kitchen table sat near a large window that looked out across endless land. Kale gave Lyra a spare room and extra clothes. He made sure Joran had warm blankets before stepping outside again, giving them space. Lyra sat on the bed, feeling both relief and uncertainty. She was grateful, but part of her feared this kindness might disappear suddenly like everything else in her life. The next morning came quietly. Sunlight poured into the house, and for the first time in weeks, Lyra woke without fear in her chest. She helped prepare breakfast, unsure if she should ask permission or simply act. Kale nodded when he saw her working. "You don't need to ask," he said. Days passed slowly. Lyra helped repair broken farming machines using skills she learned from her husband. She cleaned solar panels and assisted with feeding the animals. The work felt honest, and no one watched her with judgment. Joran ran freely across open land, laughing more each day. Kale remained mostly quiet, but she noticed small details about him. He woke before sunrise. He checked perimeter sensors regularly. And sometimes he stood alone looking at the horizon, as if remembering something heavy from the past. One evening, while fixing an old energy fence, Lyra finally asked, "Why did you help me?" Kale adjusted a tool before answering. "I saw someone being treated unfairly," he said. "That's enough reason." She studied his face but saw no desire for praise, just simple truth. Over time, settlers from nearby regions visited the ranch. They greeted Kale with respect, sometimes even caution. It became clear he had a reputation not as a troublemaker, but as someone who solved problems others avoided. Lyra slowly began to feel stronger again. But peace never lasted forever on Red Mesa. One afternoon, a small drone hovered near the ranch gate. It carried an official signal from colony authorities. Kale watched it carefully before allowing it to land. The message was short but unsettling. Someone was asking about Lyra. Her heart tightened. "They found me," she whispered. Kale looked calm but alert. "Not yet. They're just searching." Later that night, she told him everything, how her in-laws forced her out, how they claimed the ranch through legal tricks, and how rumors spread about her across the colony. Cale listened without interrupting. When she finished, he spoke quietly. Sometimes people don't act alone, someone may be pushing them. The idea made her uneasy. Why would anyone care about me? She asked. Cale hesitated before answering. Maybe not you, maybe something connected to your husband. The words stayed with her. Over the next days, Cale increased security around the ranch. Sensors activated more often. Energy barriers strengthened at night. Then one evening, while the sky turned deep purple under the setting suns, 3 drones appeared above the cliffs. They were not local farming drones. These moved with purpose. Cale stepped outside immediately. Lyra followed, her heart racing. The drones scanned the property slowly before sending a bright beam across the ground. Joran hid behind her, frightened. "They're watching," she whispered. Cale's voice stayed calm. "Yes. What do they want?" He did not answer immediately. Instead, he activated a signal jammer. The drones paused briefly, then retreated toward the horizon. Silence returned, but tension remained. Later, inside the house, Cale finally shared something personal. "I used to work as a frontier marshal," he said. "I left when I realized the system protects power more than people." Lyra listened carefully. "Whoever is searching for you might not stop easily," he added. Fear returned, but this time it mixed with determination. She was tired of running. "What should we do?" she asked. Cale looked at her steadily. "We find out the truth before they do." Outside, the twin moons rose slowly into the sky, lighting the desert in silver and red. Lyra stood by the window, watching the endless land stretch into darkness. She had arrived at this ranch feeling broken and lost. Now she felt something new growing inside her, strength. And deep down, she knew that whatever secrets followed her here would change everything again. The desert felt different after the drones appeared. Before, the ranch had been quiet and peaceful. Now every sound carried tension. The wind moving across the rocks sounded sharper. The humming of machines felt louder. Even the animals seemed restless, sensing something unseen. Lyra stood outside early in the morning, watching the horizon. Twin suns slowly rose, painting the sky orange and gold. She held a warm drink in her hands but barely noticed the taste. Someone was searching for her. The thought followed her everywhere. Cale walked toward her from the equipment shed, carrying a small scanning device. He stopped beside her, studying the sky. "They will come back," he said calmly. She nodded. "I know." There was no fear in his voice, only preparation. Over the next days, Cale began teaching her more about the ranch systems, not just daily work but security controls, navigation tools, and communication networks. He showed her how to operate a small scouting drone and how to read tracking signals on a digital map. At first, she felt unsure. Technology still confused her sometimes, but Cale never rushed or criticized her mistakes. "You learn fast," he told her one evening. She almost laughed. No one had said something encouraging to her in a long time. Meanwhile, Joran played near the barn, building small towers from metal scraps and pretending they were starships. His laughter brought life back into the ranch. One afternoon, Cale called Lyra into the control room. "I found something," he said. A holographic screen showed data streams moving quickly. Names, locations, and legal records flashed across the display. "These are mining contracts connected to your husband," Cale explained. Lyra leaned closer. She saw Aaron's name listed beside several documents she had never seen before. One record showed an unfinished claim connected to a deep desert mining zone far from the main settlements. "What is this?" she asked quietly. Cale zoomed in on the file. "A discovery report. He found something valuable." Her heart tightened. "He never told me." "Maybe he didn't have time," Cale said gently. The file revealed that Aaron discovered a rare energy mineral beneath the desert, something powerful enough to attract corporate interest. The discovery had not yet been fully registered, meaning ownership could still be contested. Lyra suddenly understood. "They wanted the land," she whispered. "That's why they pushed me out." Cale nodded slowly. "If you lost your legal position, someone else could claim it easily." Anger rose inside her, but it felt different from before. It was not helpless anger. It felt sharp and focused. "What do we do now?" she asked. Cale turned off the screen. "We confirm the evidence. Then we decide." The next morning, they prepared for a journey. Cale loaded supplies onto the hoverhorse and packed tools into a small transport vehicle. Lyra wore protective gear and carried a handheld scanner he gave her. "Stay close," he said. The desert hides dangers. They traveled across wide plains where sand shifted like waves. Strange rock formations rose from the ground, casting long shadows. Sometimes they passed abandoned equipment left by old miners who had moved on or failed. After hours of travel, they reached a deep canyon. "This is the place," Cale said. They climbed down carefully, following coordinates from Aaron's data file. At the bottom of the canyon, they found an old mining entrance sealed by collapsed rocks. Lyra felt her breath catch. "This was his work," she said softly. Cale activated scanning equipment. The machine beeped slowly, confirming high-energy readings beneath the ground. "He was right," Cale said. "This mineral is real." Suddenly, distant engine sounds echoed through the canyon. Cale's expression changed instantly. "We're not alone." A transport vehicle appeared above the canyon edge. Corporate markings shone on its surface. Two figures stepped out, scanning the area. "They tracked us," Lyra whispered. Cale grabbed her hand gently but firmly. "This way." They moved quickly behind rock formations, staying low. Lyra's heart raced as footsteps echoed nearby. She felt fear but also determination. She was no longer running blindly, she was protecting the truth. One of the corporate agents called out loudly, "We know you're here." Cale stayed silent, watching carefully. After several tense minutes, the agents retreated toward their vehicle, apparently satisfied with scanning data they collected. When the sound of engines faded, Lyra released a breath she didn't realize she held. "They know about the mineral now," she said. "Yes," Cale answered. "Which means time is limited." On the ride back to the ranch, silence filled the air. Lyra looked at the desert differently now. It no longer felt like empty land, it felt like a battlefield hidden beneath calm surfaces. That night, she sat outside watching the stars. Cale joined her, sitting quietly beside her. "I was tired of being weak," she admitted. "But today, I didn't feel weak." He nodded. "You were never weak, you just needed space to stand." His words stayed with her. For the first time since Aaron died, she felt proud of herself. But danger was closer than ever. Later, warning alarms echoed through the ranch. Multiple drones approached from the horizon. Lyra stood quickly, heart pounding. Cale moved toward the control system, activating shields and scanning defenses. "They're coming sooner than I expected," he said. Outside, the twin moons lit the desert as dark shapes moved through the sky. Lyra felt fear rise again, but this time she stood beside Cale, ready to face whatever came next. The truth was finally uncovered. And now everything was about to change. The warning alarms echoed across the ranch like distant thunder. Lyra's heart beat faster as red lights flashed along the fence line. Outside, dark shapes moved across the sky, drones flying low over the desert, their lights blinking through the night. Cale stood calmly at the control panel, watching the incoming signals. "They're not hiding anymore," he said quietly. Lyra stepped beside him. She felt fear, but it was different now. She was not alone, and she was not powerless. "What do they want?" she asked. "The mineral claim," Cale answered, "and control." Outside, the energy barrier activated with a soft, humming sound. The fence shimmered faintly, creating a protective wall around the ranch. The drones slowed when they reached the perimeter, scanning the area carefully. Joran stood behind them, holding a small toy ship. His eyes were wide but brave. "Are we safe?" he asked. Lyra knelt and hugged him gently. "Yes, stay inside." Cale stepped toward the door, his coat moving slightly as he walked. "They won't attack directly," he said. "Not yet, they want pressure, fear." Lyra followed him outside. The desert stretched wide under twin moons, silver light covering everything. The drones hovered silently like watching eyes. One of them projected a holographic message into the air. A man's face appeared, clean, confident, and cold. "Return the claim data," he said calmly. "You have something that does not belong to you." Lyra felt anger rise inside her. "It belongs to my husband," she said firmly. The man smiled slightly. "Your husband is gone. The future belongs to those who can manage resources properly." Cale crossed his arms. "You mean control?" The man ignored him. "You can leave peacefully," he continued, "or this situation becomes uncomfortable." The hologram faded. Silence returned, but tension remained. Lyra looked at Cale. "They think I'll give up." He nodded. "Most people would." She shook her head slowly. "I'm not most people anymore." The next morning, they prepared for action. Cale explained that the only way to stop the corporation was to expose the truth publicly. If settlers across Red Mesa learned about the mineral discovery and the illegal pressure used to remove her, the corporation would lose support. But we need proof, Lyra said. We have some, Cale answered. We just need to deliver it safely. They planned to return to the colony settlement where her old ranch stood. It would be dangerous, but hiding would only give their enemies more power. Before leaving, Lyra walked across the ranch slowly, looking at the place that gave her a second chance. She remembered arriving broken and unsure. Now she felt stronger. Cale prepared the hover horse and transport vehicle. Joran sat between them again, holding onto Lyra's coat as they rode across the desert. The journey felt different this time. She was not escaping. She was returning. When they reached the settlement, people gathered quickly. News traveled fast on Red Mesa, and many had heard rumors about corporate activity. Lyra stepped forward, holding the data device tightly. Her in-laws stood near the old ranch house, watching with surprised expressions. Dane looked uncomfortable, avoiding her eyes. Cale set up a public broadcast system connected to the colony network. Screens across the settlement lit up, showing the evidence they collected, mining records, legal documents, and proof of manipulation. Lyra spoke clearly, her voice steady. "My husband discovered something valuable," she said. "Instead of honoring his work, people tried to erase me so they could take it quietly." The crowd murmured. She continued, telling the truth without anger or revenge in her tone. She spoke about fairness, about respect, and about protecting the future of settlers who worked honestly. The corporate representative appeared again through a hologram, trying to interrupt. But settlers began speaking up, questioning him loudly. Pressure shifted. For the first time, Lyra saw uncertainty on the man's face. Colony authorities stepped forward after reviewing the evidence. They announced an investigation and froze all corporate claims connected to the mineral. The crowd slowly turned in her favor. Her in-laws looked ashamed. Dane stepped closer carefully. "We didn't know," he said quietly. Lyra looked at him for a long moment. Pain still existed, but she felt no desire for revenge. "You chose not to know," she said calmly. He lowered his head. Instead of arguing further, she turned away. The past no longer controlled her. Later, as the sun began to set, she stood outside the ranch one last time. The wind moved gently across the land, carrying memories both good and painful. Cale walked beside her. "You could stay here," he said. "The ranch is yours again." She thought about it carefully. This place held memories of Aaron, but also memories of loss. "I need something new," she said finally. Cale nodded as if he expected that answer. They returned to the ranch beyond the cliffs as night fell. Twin moons rose again, lighting the desert with soft silver light. Days later, life felt peaceful once more. Lyra helped manage the ranch as an equal partner. She trained animals, repaired machines, and taught Joran how to care for the land. Her laughter returned slowly, surprising even herself. One evening, she stood outside watching the horizon. Cale joined her quietly. "You changed my life," she said softly. He shook his head. "You changed your own life. I just opened the gate," she smiled. The wind moved gently around them, carrying the scent of desert flowers glowing faintly under moonlight. She remembered the moment he first appeared in the storm, saying only 4 words. "You're coming with me?" Back then, she thought he saved her. Now she understood something deeper. He gave her a choice, and she chose to stand, to fight, and to begin again. Under the twin moons of Red Mesa, her story did not end. It finally began.